Hey guys, it's Wes. Welcome to Wes's Corner. Let's take a trip back to 1997. At that time, Bill Clinton was president of the United States of America, Toonami was airing our favorite animes, and Squaresoft, now known as Square Enix, had released Final Fantasy VII for the original Sony PlayStation console. The first 3D entry in the long running series introduced a whole new audience to the JRPG, Japanese role playing game genre. It was literally a game changer. Whereas all the previous entries had been released on Nintendo consoles and handhelds, creative differences and hardware limitations forced Squaresoft to release the game on a non Nintendo console, a first for the series. The game ended up spanning 3 discs. Not only was the story immersive, but there were multiple side quests, an immense number of secrets, and a unique magic and ability system that made replays a treat. Now, there will be spoilers ahead. This does deal with the original release of the game from 1997 and not the newly released remake. So if you don't want to see spoilers for a nearly 25-year-old game, this is your chance to click off. But it's a reasonable assumption, if you're watching this video, you're familiar with the game and its major plot points. Final Fantasy VII follows the story of Cloud Strife, a mercenary and former soldier, as he joins Avalanche, a group of eco-terrorists, as they attempt to bring down Shinra, an electric power company that drains the planet of its life force, known as Mako, to use as its power source. Together with childhood best friend Tifa Lockhart, doting father and leader of Avalanche Barrett Wallace, flower girl Aerith Gainsborough, known as Aeris in the original release and subsequent ports due to a translation error but corrected in all future Final Fantasy VII related works, the young but heroic Red 13, failed space explorer Sid Highwind, thief Yuffie Kisaragi, suspicious Kate Sith, and the mysterious Vincent Valentine, it is learned that there is a much greater cosmic risk to the planet than that of Shinra. This threat is known as Sephiroth, whose quest to summon Meteor becomes the main plot point of the game. But Final Fantasy VII also deals with a lot of mental health related topics, which is why we're here today. An identity crisis, a love triangle, grief from loss, wars, planetary destruction, all of those things are pretty significant. But we can't start without discussing a major event, and this is your last chance to avoid some big spoilers. 3, 2, 1, here we go. And that event, of course, is the sudden death of Aerith partway through the game. This event takes place at the end of Disc 1, long after the escape from Midgar, Cloud's retelling of his past while in the village of Calm, the trip to the Gold Saucer, and the reveal of the importance of the Black Materia. Cloud and the gang, now in the City of the Ancients, the Forgotten City, wake up to find that Aerith has disappeared, so they go to find her. Upon traveling through the city, they find her at what looks to be a sort of hidden castle. There's a spring, and above it some platforms, one of which contains an altar. There, Aerith prays silently. Cloud approaches her and for some reason draws his sword. He's compelled to kill her, as he's under the control of the villain Sephiroth. He is fortunately able to resist, but before anybody else can act, Sephiroth descends from the skies without warning and plunges a sword, the Masamune, through her back and out her stomach. She slumps over, and from her drops the white materia. As it makes impact with the ground on its first bounce, her theme begins to play. Aerith is dead. Not partly dead. Not dying. No phoenix down to revive her. No life magic to cast to bring her back. She's gone. And as her theme continues to play, Sephiroth taunts Cloud as he grieves, as everyone else grieves. They don't sugarcoat this at all. Cloud's rage and hurt are wonderfully communicated through the dialogue boxes. Aerith will no longer talk, no longer laugh, no longer cry, or get angry. What about us? What are we supposed to do? What about my pain? My fingers are tingling. My mouth is dry. My eyes are burning. Cloud rages with pure, white hot emotion. Sephiroth only continues to taunt him about how he shouldn't have feelings because he is only a puppet. Cue the saddest boss fight in the game. The entire game. The player doesn't even get a moment to grieve, much like the characters, before they are thrust into battle again. Their comrades' fallen theme still playing in the background throughout the whole fight. The first time playing through, I was trying to fight this battle through tears. Even now, as an adult, knowing what's coming, it's still hard not to tear up at this point. Once the battle ends, Aerith is laid to rest in a watery grave. Her character physically is gone, but her impact has been made. Her Cetra heritage, her efforts to summon Holy, and the effect she had on everybody, it all carries on through the remainder of the game. The effect of her death, the grief the characters suffer, is long-lasting, and it takes a toll on everybody. It has affected their mental health. The pain felt from the loss is real. It's a tangible emotion, and the game doesn't shy away from it. Even if she is a fictional character, her sudden death is something many players can relate to. Personally, I grew up as a child first experiencing this game as I watched my uncle play it when it was new. I'd always watch him play. He died 2 years ago at the age of 57, also suddenly cardiac arrest, unfortunately. We had spent time together earlier that day, in fact. See, the game makes the death relatable. Not so much in the manner that it happens, but rather in how sudden it is, how it's dealt with, and how the effects of the loss persist long after the actual death itself. Beyond that, identity is another struggle in this game. Early on, Cloud is plagued by some unknown force, causing him to tremble and become helpless. As Cloud retells his past in the town of Calm, not long after leaving Midgar, there are clues that his explanation of events don't quite make sense or add up. Places he had claimed to go but didn't, events that he claims occurred that happened differently, and only being able to remember fragments of that period of time. Later on, it's revealed that Cloud has been injected with Genova cells to try to clone Sephiroth. Due to shame of himself, he incorporated Zack's persona into his own, adopting his clothes, sword, and personality. Cloud himself was never truly a soldier, and due to the Genova cells and the shame of him not making it into soldier, he became who we know him as. Cloud would eventually, towards the end of Disc 2, find himself in a mental breakdown at the realization of who he was. After falling into the life stream and suffering Mako poisoning, Cloud is incoherent and paralyzed. It isn't until a trip into his subconscious with Tifa that the true Cloud is revealed as a whole. You're searching, aren't you, Cloud? Searching for yourself. I can help too. We'll work together to try and get the real you back. Tifa says to him, for anybody who has ever struggled to find their place, to know who they are, to come to terms with their identity, this resonates strongly. People may end up incorporating parts of others into themselves as a coping mechanism. They may struggle with their identity if they are gay, trans, or multiracial. They may repress harmful or bad memories due to trauma or regret. Again, while the framing as it's portrayed in the game is a bit fantastical in nature, the subtext is there. And for anyone, such as Tifa in the game, who witnessed the old version of a person versus the new version, it can be difficult to come to terms with. But if they are on your side, they will accept you. We all struggle to know who we are at times, especially after a major revelation or life event. Sometimes you have to take a step back and reassess yourself, change yourself, and become anew. This too, like the loss mentioned above, can certainly take a toll on mental health. It is important to know who you are and to strive to become who you want to be. If you have shames, regrets, or do not like who you are, it is okay to become a person that you are happy with so that your mental health can improve. Regret is also a strong theme within this game. Two characters, Red 13 and Sid Highwind, both experience regret, but they process it in different ways. Red 13 had believed that his father was a coward until later in the game when he realized that he was actually a hero. He regretted how he had felt coldly towards his father previously. You thought that he was a coward and ran away, but he alone risked his life to protect Cosmo Canyon. Red 13's adoptive grandfather, Bugenhagen, told him. The truth helped him grow. Sid's regret, on the other hand, was of a different form. Having been part of Shinra's space exploration program, his dream ended up being destroyed. Scientist Shira, who lived with him, had discovered a fault in the rocket. He had to choose to either proceed with the launch, which would inevitably cause her death, or proceed with the emergency shutdown and save her life, which would sacrifice his dream in the process. He ended up saving her life, but he became jaded and bitter, acting coldly and nasty towards her, making her the outlet of his anger and regret. Once he realized that there was truly an issue with the rocket, he did end up forgiving her and began to let go of his regret. Regret is definitely something that both these characters deal with, whether it's realizing someone is not who you thought they were, for better or worse, or if it's due to giving up something important to you because of a greater sacrifice. Both these things can definitely affect one's mental health as well. Living with regret and guilt can weigh heavy on a mind. What ifs and maybes constantly lie in your head. Lost time, lost sleep, anxiety, they can all be birthed from regret. People make the choices they do for a reason, whether that reason is good or bad. Regret does not do any good for anybody. You are who you are because of the choices you've made, and they've helped shape you. Look forward to the future rather than thinking back to the past and what you could have done differently. There is a whole lot more I could get into with this particular video, but it's already pretty long. I'm likely to come back and revisit the topic focusing on some of the other characters and mental health aspects in this particular game. Hopefully next time the video won't be as long. But next up on the slate, we do still stay in the world of Final Fantasy, but this time it's going to be a focus on Final Fantasy IX with a further deep dive into the topic of identity. Like always, if you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to click the bell to be notified of future videos. But for now, that's all. Once again, thanks for visiting Wes's Corner, and we'll see you next time.